Welcome to the Fellas Podcast, the ultimate Formula One podcast for fans by fans, where we discuss all the happenings in the world of Formula One. Now, let's get into it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Fellas Podcast. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date on all things the Fellas. This week, we're going to be talking about the Singapore Grand Prix. Simon, what were your thoughts?
I thought overall the race was boring, considering the lineup that we had on the grid. I thought with Lando and Verstappen and Russell and Hamilton all being in the top four, we were going to see some action at least for the first 5 laps, and then I figured that they would be jockeying and trying to manage their tires. But man, we didn't even get that. It was I don't know what happened. I don't know. Lewis put on those softs. We'll get into that tire management and that strategy with Mercedes. I don't know what they were thinking. But overall, it was a predictable race once Lando got out. So, I started doing other things while I was watching the race. What about you, Ray?
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's typical for a street circuit, it seems, that there is more DRS trains than they are passing, because these guys, they're riding on the edge. You got to be sure about your moves, right? Because there's no runoff. So basically it came through as, if you look back at all the street circuits, they don't typically have a lot of passing with them. It came across as a typical one. It's like it was a reverse. It reminded me of Max race from earlier this season, where, the person just ran off with it. So, but not quite. There's some stuff in there that, we can comment on to say that it's not that quite. But it's the street circuits. That's how they design the street circuits, and, that's what you get from them, right? And there's I believe some other factors were also leading into that problem at the same time. So, that's kind of my overall take.
My thought, I didn't find it boring. I would say it was uneventful. But from the point of view of, was there going to be a safety car? I was still kind of on the edge of my seat, and Lando brushing the wall a couple times. I was like, is he going to throw this away? Or is he going to have an accident to do it? So that kept me in. I watched it the whole way through, and that was what was the emotion that was going with me. Is like, is he going to be able to pull it off? Is he going to be able to bring that car home? So from that point of view, I enjoyed it. Yes, it wasn't, wheel banging, dicey like some of the other ones we've had, but you can't on a street circuit. That's my thought.
Yeah, I think you're right. Uneventful is probably the right word. Boring is not necessarily the right word, since I watched the entire race. So if it was boring, I probably would have switched it off. But the safety car, yes, I was looking for that to help not only Hamilton, but help other racers get back into the mix. I think I wanted to see Lando and Verstappen kind of go at it once they had fresher tires, just to see if they could compete, especially Russell and Piastri. I wanted to see if Piastri was going to mess with Lando again. But no, nothing, right? It was amazing how this entire year, if you really stop and look at the safety car numbers on each of these races this year, it's been pretty low.
Yeah,
they've been pretty safe when it comes to the racing this year.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a reason for that, but I don't know. But yeah.
Well, even so, in Singapore, where there was a high history of the safety car being deployed, we'll try to skip over Crashgate with Renault. But outside of that one, where it was manipulated to come out, it's a track where it's been a high rate of the safety car being deployed. So for this race to finish with no safety car, I was like, wow, okay, that's huge. And that there were multiple drivers that at some point, based on their tire management, their cars were starting to slide around on them.
Right.
And then they had to control that, within, you don't really have a lot of runoff.
It was, there was an issue with the Pirelli tires. I'm going to just come out with that. The compound that they pushed out, I forgot. I think it was Russell made a comment on it. And everybody, I guess the higher-ups told him to shut up and fly right. So he then made no more comments on it. But, when you look at it, a lot of cars had their rear end really loose,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And it seemed like the team was even hard to get the tire into an operating range prior, when they had them in the ovens, when they put them on the car, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So something, I think that's a contributing factor to what happened,
Mhm.
i.e., what happened to Sykes,
Mhm.
right? Because he jumped on the throttle, hit a bump, and he just went right to the wall right away because he was on ice. The tires were cold,
Yeah.
even though they just came out of the blankets, right? So
Right.
he went around the track, the 3 mile track with it. So there still wasn't enough heat in the tire to do it. So I think there might be something up with the compound and how Pirelli is putting them out, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes, it's a tight course, and it shows you that, as I said before, the DRS train, how that thing, there is no, a car needs clean air to help it work with the tires, right?
Mhm.
And when the lack of clean air is not there,
Mhm.
they can't really make a move, right? Because look at like Piastri trying to come through, right?
Mhm.
He had to really hustle to come through. He had a faster car, right? McLaren, I believe, this time around had the fastest car on the track, right?
Mhm.
I'll say that Mercedes, it was around where Ferrari was, but Mercedes know better strategy than Ferrari, so that's
Right.
why Mercedes was, it showed up in front of them, right?
Right.
But
Right.
and I'll give Max props that he knew his car was limited, but he exercised it to the
Mhm.
best of his ability, right? So
Mhm.
he has driving talent,
Mhm.
I want to, say that he has driving talent.
Mhm.
So, he did what he could do. But again, it's hard for them on the street courses because, again, Lando, right, almost threw away the race twice, right? Because he
Mhm.
bounced the wall twice with the car. And, remember, I think it was last year, who was it? Russell was following, was it Norris who was following? And Russell tipped it, and then
Russell.
Russell went out the race. So,
Yeah.
I'll say this. For this race, I am very sympathetic to the drivers
Mhm.
because just think about it. You're hot as heck. You're dehydrating,
Mhm.
right? Even with the water bottle on the car, and you
Mhm.
cannot lose concentration for a millisecond because if
Mhm.
you do it for a millisecond, you're into the wall, right? The
Mhm.
only time you
Mhm.
can take a breather is when you're coming down the straight. You can,
Mhm.
like relax or whatever a little bit, and then boom, you're back in it all over again because you
Mhm.
can't do anything. So
Mhm.
it's I understand when you say it's a hard race on the driver. Yes, it may be as entertaining for us, right?
Mhm.
But if you jump into like the strategy for that Simon wanted to say about Lewis, right? They swung for the wall and they came up short because they were banking on Lewis getting in front of Verstappen, possibly getting in front of getting around Lando for some reason. Once he got behind Verstappen, it was it. The tires just kept on being used up
Yeah.
because he had
Yeah.
no clean air. So
Yeah.
Bef-
Yeah.
Before we go there, I do want to bring up a topic that I thought is interesting. That Lando, with no one crashing, I should say Lando and Piastri, but McLaren in itself have run a perfect race. I remember early in the season that they weren't winning races. They were getting into the pole. They were doing everything right except for maybe that third or fourth thing in order to win the race.
Mhm.
These last four races, McLaren has definitely wiped away all those little small errors. And as you stated, Lando almost gave it away twice, but
Mhm.
I think they're getting to the point where they're actually racing a complete race, and
Mhm.
that's why they're being a little more consistent. If they were doing that in the very beginning of the season, I think Verstappen would not be such a lead in points, in my opinion.
Right. 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 Yeah, I think so. Isn't McLaren ahead in the constructors?
They're ahead in the
correct.
constructors, but Verstappen is still ahead by 51
Oh, in the
points.
drivers, yes,
Yeah,
in the drivers' points, but in the constructors at the moment, and that's due to the fact that they have two cars finishing as high as they can in the points.
right.
Whereas
516 versus 475.
right. Whereas Red Bull doesn't. Sergio hasn't come up consistently yet. Okay.
No, and Ferrari can come in second if they keep doing what they're doing. I mean, they're at 441.
Yeah.
Right. So 475, 441, that's really one race.
Yeah, you're right. I agree. McLaren has definitely stepped it up, which is what you would want. Like you got to get it together. You have an opportunity to probably to come in close. You might even win the drivers championship, get them both if
Mhm.
Max has a DNF.
Max has to have at least one DNF, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He has to have at least one DNF or
Or
come
finish
in
low
11th.
down the order.
Yeah. Or come in 11th or 10th.
Yeah.
And Lando win outright, right? Ray, you brought this up, so I'm gonna bring it back to you. What the hell was McLaren thinking? Not McLaren. I'm sorry, Mercedes thinking with Hamilton bringing him on softs in the beginning of the
Because
race.
they wanted him, they think that he would be better off the line, right? Because it's a softer compound, so he would put the traction down better, right? And he could get out in front of Verstappen and then, run in that setup, right?
So,
And if possibly even go after Lando, but I think that was kind of really optimistic, right? But I think at least they were looking to get in front of Max.
But it would be a temporary move. Even if he got in front of Verstappen, it's a hard track to pass. Mm-hmm. Eventually, though, they were going to have to do what they did today, was pit him in 18th or 20th. Their placement as far as changing out tires, I think he called it the offset. The offset was completely off. So he lost 3 positions because of starting on the softs. So even if he got in front of Verstappen, he was going to lose a position anyway.
So check it out this way, right? Lando moved away from Verstappen during that time period, right? Eventually gave it more, got rid of DRS more. So that means then there's more flow going on to the car that's behind it. Lewis was in that position, right? The gamble was that Lewis was going to be, I think they were shooting for him to go take off Lando, but, more it was a primary focus was on Max. And Lewis is a tire whisperer. Lewis, comes from a school of not having much and knowing how to make it work, right? So if they got in front of Max, then Lewis, they were looking forward to extend that stint so that, they would then come into whatever window they talked about for him to then make the change and be able to come back up. That's my opinion.
I just thought it was risky.
Well, it was a risky move. It was a swing for the fences. But they're like, well, let's not do this, But in saying that, how you like your boy Russell with his little underhand and trying to get him to burn his tire up? Tell Lewis to go faster. He's holding me up. You know what I'm saying? That wow. First, your team, what they said, your first enemy is your teammate. That was a straight up underhanded one.
But that I didn't have a problem with that. They all do that. The thing back to the strategy is that, I guess that's what they thought. They thought, bringing them out on the softs, but then they pitted them on lap 18 for a set of hards, right? And then the pit window for that track really didn't open up until lap 29. And then what happened? Max pitted on lap 30 and picked up his hards, right? So he could go deeper into the race. Lando pitted the lap after him, lap 31, and picked up his hards. So the question is, I guess that was really a gamble. It really was a gamble, but I don't know. Well, clearly we see it didn't make sense because it didn't work.
That's what their thing was, right? Because they were saying
he had to take those hards. His hards are old compared to these new hards, and he doesn't stand a chance.
So if he went long with the hards after, right, and he got back position, then when it was time for him to go, he'd come back in again and he would go straight up soft, right? While other guys are then, their tires are already wearing out, right? So he'd be the guy to come back and be attacking again.
Yeah, but I just think it was a silly strategy in the sense, and I'm not a pit crew mechanical engineer as far as Formula One is concerned, but I just feel he was right. The offset of when he pitted 18th, lap 18th, it just put him in a disadvantage. He has to go through all these crowd and of drivers, and instead of having some sort of gain from pitting early, he was losing because the drivers are holding him back. Now, if they had pitted lap 20th, then he would have gotten the advantage of it. But to me, it was just bad.
You know what? I I almost think, and I don't have any fact on this, is that Mercedes is just using Lewis for some kind of information gathering. It doesn't seem like he's necessarily getting the optimal strategy. And I don't know about equipment, like I said, but it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I can't wait till next year now.
Yeah,
put him in a Ferrari.
Yeah, I'm hopefully the Ferrari's competitive, because they had Fernando when he went there, and Fernando was on fire, and they didn't win the title, and some of it was due to strategy errors from the team. Yeah. So we don't know, but we'll see. But yeah, I think that was not. Well, we can say it now. That wasn't a good strategy.
I'm wondering if it was his or the team. I'm wondering.
Wow. It's a team. He agreed to it, but there was a team put it out, sold it. Right. Plus the tire degradations were like a little quicker, right?
Yeah.
On there, especially, I guess the hard and the mediums were the best one out for that track, it seems.
Yeah.
And not the soft.
And
right?
most people who started, unless they got advantage on the first lap, most people ended up a position or two from where they started. So that tells you the tire strategy of hard or medium and hard was the right one in overall sense.
If I remember correctly, I think the majority of the grid was started on the mediums,
mm-hmm.
and then they dumped those for the hards. Sonoda was the one that dumped his and got a set of softs towards the end.
Who, Yuki?
Yeah, Yuki. Yeah.
Yuki. Speaking of Yuki, dude, the way that cat talks to his team is something else, man. He's like, no, I'm not doing that. No, that's stupid. No, he's just.
Kimi Räikkönen.
Oh my God.
No. You see, Kimi. No disrespect to Yuki, but Kimi was a higher caliber driver, and he could do it. The best one, my gosh, it slipped my mind of the team that he was racing with when he came back. But he came back, and apparently he had told them in testing that the car was good. And they came over the radio as he's racing to tell him some instructions, and Kimi was like, "Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing." Right? And he came home. If he didn't win, he finished high. Unfortunately, I don't remember, but that's the difference. Yuki, I've seen where he has that streak about him, but then he can be erratic, and that's the difference between him and Kimi. Kimi was more surgical, but he would tell you where to go if he didn't agree with what you're telling him. Yuki's doing it too, but even when he wanted Daniel to move over towards the end, I mean, I was like, wow, like, bro, you're really impatient. Like, he was almost yelling, which that was one of the things they needed him to manage. Like, you have to calm down. You have to be more composed, when you're going to do it. That's what I saw.
Yeah, his favorite line today was, too much information. Yeah. They were telling him something like, that's too much information. I don't need that.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah. The only time I've seen Lewis do that at Mercedes, I don't know what was going on, but he was right. He was in the middle of battling. I think it might have been Nico. No, it wasn't Nico. It was another team, and he was battling them for the position. And they came over the radio to tell him something, and he's like, "Don't talk to me when I'm racing." And he said it like that, but I was like, he's right. Like, he's in the middle of doing a maneuver. Don't distract him, But he's different.
Yeah,
no, Yuki's doing good this year, though. Yuki's finishing in the points.
Yeah, he blew Daniel out the water.
So Yuki is. That's why it's the next Kimi. It's a young Kimi in making.
Yeah, I guess he blew Daniel out, which brings me to Daniel. I like gone. Daniel. He's done.
When you say done for the season or done completely?
Formula One, he's out.
That's what I was going to say. I think he is out for the rest of the season, right? Because I was watching it today and I was looking at everything, and then it's a couple of interviews with him, and I mean, he's very well liked.
Let me just be clear. He will not be a driver anymore.
Yeah, no, but I say next year, definitely. But I'm looking at it from the point of view of the team to say, okay, what if we put Liam in the car for the next few races to get him a little bit of experience ahead of next year? What can it hurt? Where did Daniel finish? Where did he finish in this race? Daniel...
He did not finish.
He did not finish.
Well, no, he got
fastest lap.
Yeah. He finished 18th. Right. So, and no
lap.
Disrespect to Daniel, I like him, but if you have someone that you're going to bring in, unless he crashes the car, he's either going to do the same and get experience for next year, hopefully to do better, or he may do better. He might be like Franco, that's getting your elbows out there. So I think Daniel's finished for the rest of this season, and that's it. I feel bad for him, though. I like him a lot. And I think, again, I'm not a psychiatrist or anything, but seeing how he used to race when he was with Red Bull, somewhere in his mind he lost his edge, and I don't know what it is, but it's something.
Did he have a major crash?
I'm sorry. No,
did he have a major crash?
No, but I don't know if it's his time at McLaren or I don't know what it is, but it seems more or less like something is affecting him psychologically. I'm not saying he's crazy, but that confidence that he had when he first came in, I think that's gone. And he's stuck in that rut of, I need to improve. I need to improve. It almost seems when he was at Red Bull, he was just like, yo, I got this. And I don't think he's in that headspace right now.
Do you think? So I think because of his popularity, they're going to want to keep him at Formula One, and maybe as a commentator, or maybe doing odds and ends in that sense. Because I think he would be like Rosberg and be pretty good at it, to be honest.
Well, I'll say
better than Rosberg.
Yeah. I'll say this. At least, and no disrespect, because DC is a commentator as well, and he won races with McLaren, but he's not a world champion. And DC didn't do it right away. He went off and did other things and then came back. I think for Daniel, go do sports car racing. Go do something else. This is my thought, and I'll just say it here. When I saw the interview with him, I said, you know what? I think if he goes and does a racing in some other series, he might get his mojo back, right? And if he gets it back, then he could come back and be on fire. But that's the way I see it. But he to become a commentator now, he's still too young. Go race. Go race in something else.
Well, he's done. He's not coming back. He's done. You listen to the race. All right, hold on. Let me clarify. He's not coming back as a driver. His driving days are over. You listen to the commentary today. He spoke like he already knew it's over.
Yeah.
Right? When they pose the question, it's like the decision is already made. It's just not been made public yet. Yeah. Right? So his driving days within Formula One is done. Right? He might come back in some other capacity, sure, because he is, not one of the most well-liked characters in that Formula One environment, right? Yeah. So it'll be, it's going to be a loss. The reason why he was around for so long is because he was so liked, right? And he had some potential before, right? Yeah. So that's what bought him more time. But I think from the interviews today, it seemed like they decided he already knew that it's over.
Yeah,
he's just like, the public hasn't been made aware yet, but it's done, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if we hear the thing within the next before they hit Austin, the announcement that there's a new driver in the car. So,
I think it's, as they say, even Stevie Wonder could see he's done. No, I mean, and I don't mean it in a negative. Yes, the whole even the post race interviews. It's there, and that's why I look at it. I said, yeah, it would be in the team's best interest to bring in the new young gun, give him some experience. He's not coming in on Singapore, which is a very technical track. He'll come in for Austin and see out the rest of the season and gain valuable experience to take him into next year.
So why now? Why now? Is because of the new racer they want to bring in? So he's not going to be at Austin, I don't think.
I don't think so.
I don't think he won't be driving a car.
So
I'm coming out and saying he will not be in a car.
Right.
Austin.
So who are they replacing him with?
Liam Lawson.
And he's a rookie, right?
Yep.
Right.
For Formula One, he's raced in. Hold up. He's a rookie to Formula One. He's raced in DTM, and I think he also did the Le Mans series also. Mm-hmm. So but he's a rookie to Formula One. So he has racing experience, just not in Formula One. Mm-hmm. Well, he did one race last year.
So is that the reason why they're doing it now, to get him some experience for next year?
It would be. That's what
Daniel's not getting them no points. Daniel's not getting them no points. Yuki is short of Daniel, and Yuki should be number 2.
Listen, it's like I said, Daniel finished 18th. If you bring in a rookie and he finishes 18th, you haven't lost anything. The only thing you lose is if you bring him in and he crashes the car, right? Or he's prone to crashing. And I don't think Liam Lawson is that. So that's why I'm saying today, when I looked at it, I was like, why not bring him in now so he can get his feet wet for the rest of the season? You have nothing to lose and all to gain. He'll get more experience in the car, racing on the track. And Daniel's done, but like you said, I don't think he should come back. I don't think he will come back as a commentator like that. He did say he would take some time off, and I think that's what he needs. And when he decides, I think he should race in some other circuit, some other series, and see if he gets his mojo back.
Yeah, he's made his money though.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's made decent money in the sport. Plus, he has a great following, so he'll still be popular and still be a demand for him somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
And Formula One be looking at that, right? Because that revenue that he generates, they're going to lose it, right? So they'll be looking at that also. It's just like, your boy Checo. He needs to be gone, right? But he brings a lot of money with him. So we're going to see if Red Bull's going to drop him also.
Okay, hold on. If we going on who should be gone, Lance Stroll should be gone, right? Even before Sergio. Because you know what?
Or Ricardo.
Or before Ricardo. Well, Daniel really.
When I speak, I got ahead of myself.
Because this is now two teams since Red Bull, and you haven't gotten back consistently to the form you had when you were with Red Bull. Lance Stroll. I just look at it this way. It's like, wow, it doesn't look good that the only reason you're there is that your father owns a team, because your teammate is light years ahead of you. And we know Fernando's good, but here's the thing. Now they have Adrian Newey, Honda. If the Honda engine is good, let's say next year, they have Adrian Newey. They have a tight strategy. If the package is good, Fernando will put it up as far as it can go. And that's where you're going to need, kind of like what's happening to Red Bull now. Where is Sergio to help bring in that points haul to secure the constructors?
Yeah, but remember now, this track was a dicey track, right? So I think it took a lot of the experienced guys to really reach down deep and to be able to pull off what they pulled off at this race.
Okay.
Right. And I think, and bring up their skill, right? Whereas I think Lance, he's, his skill, I don't know where his skill's at, because he did perform well this in a couple of races this season, right, where he outscored his teammate. But I think this track was a bit much for the skill level, because you look at people like for instance, right, we didn't talk about, but look at Hulkenberg, what he's doing with the Haas, right? He's pulling that car. He's doing like a Fernando. He's pulling the car up from where it was supposed to be up to where he wants it to be in the points all the time. You know what I'm saying? So I think that Lance doesn't seem to have that. Doesn't have that skill honed. Put it that way.
Well, I'll say this. I just look back at a couple of the past races. Fernando's always been ahead of him, not by one place, a few places.
No, but there are a few times he finished in front of Fernando this season.
A few times.
Yeah.
Alonso has triple the points that Lance Stroll has.
Listen, yeah, but I'm not saying. Hold up. Just to be clear, I'm not taking away anything from Alonso, right? You guys are saying, Stroll is, not there to be on the grid. But I'm just reminding you that there are times that Stroll has, pulled up and showed something in a couple of the races this season, right?
Well, I hit a jump shot every once in a while when I play basketball.
Okay, so that may be the case, but as I said, right, the skill set is just not there for it to pull up and do what the others are doing. Well, that's all that's what I said.
Well, then you're agreeing with what I'm saying. He doesn't belong there.
I didn't. Yeah. I'm just saying it in a different way, but yes.
Yeah, because I look at it as, if they have the package, like I said, they have Adrian, they secured him. Honda's coming on, right? If the Honda engine is good, Adrian designs a good car, the strategy and the rest of the infrastructure, the team is there. You need both drivers firing on all cylinders to bring that home, right?
Well, Lance will be there then.
No, I'm just saying, if his performance doesn't improve hugely compared to now, and that package is good, it looks bad for him in that you're going to look at it and everyone's going, yeah, you're only there because your father owns a team.
If you want Aston Martin to be a team on the grid, Lance needs to stay around. Because, if his son's not there, then his dad's going to say, forget this team stuff.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. But you know what? His father is a billionaire, right? They're cutthroat. They're about their money, right? And winning at what they're doing. They may have to have a hard conversation with his son and say, listen, man, I don't want to come out and be a loser on this. He's giving him the opportunity to up his game. Go ahead, Simon.
Well, you raise a good point. However, are they making money? Are they losing money now? If they're making money, even though they're not competing at the level that we think they should compete at, if they're still making money, he's not going to pull out. I'll give you a perfect example, right? There are NFL and NBA teams that they're coming in, they don't even make the playoffs, but they sell out every night. They're still making money,
Well,
right?
Okay. To say that, teams that are running in Formula One, for the most part, they want to win the Constructors and the Drivers' Championship.
They make more money.
Yeah, but it's also a brand, from a branding point of view, it's huge.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And they'll make a ton load of money. So Lawrence Stroll, I can't see him saying, "Oh, well, we're making some money to keep my son." I think what it's heading towards is that this ship is heading towards an iceberg, and the iceberg, in order to avoid it, Lance either needs to step up his performance a lot, or he needs to be replaced by another driver.
I think if the sponsors start pulling out or start, demanding, different contracts for lesser money, then they're going to have to make a decision.
I mean, I could see Fernando saying, "Hey, if the package is good and I can win the Drivers' Championship, that's what I care about."
Mm-hmm.
And it's fair to him, because that's why he's there. Fernando's not racing just to race. He likes racing. He wants to win another title.
Yeah, they had a good shot last year. They had a good shot to compete last year.
Who?
Aston Martin.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's not in it just to be running around the track. He's looking to win. So it's either if Lawrence is like, "All right, Fernando will win and I want to keep my son happy," then that's how it's going to be. They won't get the constructors. But for a team, you want both. That's all I'm saying. So when we're talking about Daniel and Sergio, I was like, the elephant in the room is Lance Stroll.
Well, the sponsor was it. Aston Martin cars are doing all right because why? They get to stamp their car as being part of Formula One, so it might be helping them in their sales.
And now you say that, Ray. Thank you, because this is something I was wondering about, which I have to look into. It's Aston Martin, but you're running a Honda engine?
No, you're running a Mercedes. Well, they're running their current model is a Mercedes engine, a Merc.
Right, but next year it's going to be a Honda engine.
Oh, for the racing, yeah. Well,
right.
There's only so many racing engine constructors that can compete at that level, because the amount of uplift, the money to make an engine that can compete within that environment is a lot of money. So, people looking at, Honda already paid dues to figure out, what the problems were, and they finally got it right. So, why would you then go uplift and then start to develop your own engine from zero, right? If they brought in, Cadillac was going to step in with Andretti's because to build an engine for F1, but they still haven't let the Andretti's in yet. So,
right.
but it's wasn't it Renault makes its own engine also?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, they do.
Right.
Yes, they do.
Right. So so then, again, the amount of time and money to invest to get to that level. People are taking a shorter route. Said, give me an engine package and I'll do the rest of the car around it. One last thing I want to throw in. What happened to Ferrari today?
They did good. They sucked at qualifying, but to come in 9th and 10th, and then, to qualify 9th and 10th, and then come in, was it 4th and 7th?
I expect them to be further up.
Yeah, it's the qualifying that screwed them over.
Yeah, well, it plays back with the DRS train thing and the tire situation, why people couldn't come back through. Okay.
They faded. Clearly, we could see that. To be honest with you, it's the same. The only consistent team has really been, of late, McLaren, right? Because the Red Bulls faded for a while. For a few races, right? And then Ferrari, same thing. Like, they seem strong, but then they're not.
Same
and then
thing with Mercedes.
And same with Mercedes. They seem strong, and then they're not. So what happened to Ferrari? What's been happening? But we don't know really what the cause of that is.
Let me throw something out there before we go into predictions. You said something earlier, Ray, about the Pirelli tires are not performing well. Do you think that the Pirelli tires, I mean, are they involved with the engineering of the cars and the chassis? Because the reason why I'm asking this question is every year throughout the season, they're tweaking the car, adjusting the car, but the tires are the same. So as you're tweaking the car and you're messing with the suspension, you're messing with the airflow, with the aerodynamics, changing the downforce. The tires are, if they're the same from the very beginning of the season, they're going to have an adverse effect on the tires as you're tweaking the cars. Wouldn't you guys agree?
There have been times when Pirelli has changed the compound during the season.
Mm.
Remember, there were a couple of races where they were cars were losing. I think it was the left front. It was just blowing out on them. I forgot which track that was, and they went back and reevaluated the tire compound. It's a compromise. You want aero efficiency, but at the same time, yes, you need to be able to create enough force to turn on the tire, right? So they keep engineering to try and get close to that optimum setting of whatever tire you have on there, how the car will perform the way to make the car perform the way they want it to perform with the particular tires underneath it. Because you'll notice that some cars they do better. Like for instance, for a while it was Mercedes at one track was doing better on the soft, and then nobody wanted to do the hards because of too hard. As a team, you're looking to see how you can find a happy medium to achieve whatever numbers you're trying to achieve with those tires, in consideration, right? So you're doing a compromise. You're not 100% on the tire compound, but you have some percentage of it that's part of your calculation, your engineering when you go to do the chassis of the car. That's the way I see it.
Okay.
Right, it's a variable that you deal with, right? And I want to say that Pirelli might be tweaking the compounds because Pirelli takes back the tires each race, right? So they can study them, right? And they could tweak the compound and bring it back. Because I remember they did that quite a few times. And they'll tweak the compound and bring it back, and then that's why they'll throw out whatever different tires you can pick from, right, on a race. So they do. I don't think they do anything drastic, but they maybe do some tweaking along the season with the different tires.
That's interesting.
And you know what? I'm going to take that up and I'm going to do some legwork on that, and I'll come back around if I find anything to the contrary, more detailed. Right.
All right. Austin, Coda. Your predictions there.
Fast track. Very fast.
I think Verstappen has done pretty well there as well. I think Lewis as well has done well there. I'm not sure about Lando, but right now Lando and Piastri have the fastest cars. So
Lando and Piastri have the fastest car, and that's a very quick track. Well, I'll let you go first.
I'm gonna say McLaren is gonna win a race. Wow, I can't believe I'm gonna say Lando's gonna win his fourth race. Piastri is going to be there either second or third, and it's a track that Verstappen likes, so he's probably going to be second or third. And I think, unfortunately, Hamilton is going to be either fourth or fifth, and that's my predictions right now. Even though Russell is getting the favored treatment at this point, he can easily come in and beat Hamilton. I'm with you, Ray, on a little conspiracy theory on that one, but I'm going to say Lando, Piastri, Verstappen. But I'm hoping, just to make the season interesting, I'm hoping Verstappen is more sixth, seventh, and eighth on the scoreboard. But yeah, that's one of his racing tracks that he likes. So
yeah, I'm gonna go opposite. I'm gonna say it's gonna be Max, Lando, Piastri. I don't think
even with that fast McLaren, you're gonna go with Red Bull.
Yeah. I'm gonna say it's gonna be Max.
All right.
Well, I'll say there'll be two McLarens on the podium. The winner's going to be Piastri, Lando second, and there's a toss-up between Lewis and Max, because if they don't screw with Lewis's setup, Lewis is going to be on the podium, because Lewis always does well at that corner. That's one of his favorites. So, I'll say McLaren, Mercedes, and Lewis. Piastri's number one. Lando is going to be number two, and Lewis will bring up the rear with number three. That's my prediction.
Kind of off topic when you said Lewis, if they don't screw up with Lewis's setup on the car. I remember after the whole Nico situation where Nico won his world title, Lewis said in an interview after I'm finished with Formula One and I'm retired, I'll write a book so you'll know what really happened. And when you said that, I just wondered, like,
they're messing with the car, bro. Come on. They want their favorite guy.
Right. Go ahead, Rick.
No, but we know. Russell is their guy, right? So Lewis is getting the scraps that are left over. It's a balancing act, right? Because the team wants the points anyway because they're going to get money. But at the same time, they want their lead guy to be the guy that gets the most points and the other guy to follow, right? So, this has been driving around inefficient setups, especially now towards the end. It's going to even show up more now, that inefficient setups that he's going to have to be trying to drive around in order to pull up himself so he can beat their guy.
So this is kind of reminding me of in the documentary Uppity about Willie T. Ribbs when he was racing, I believe it was for Roush. And he was saying his teammate, Willie said that when he would get on the power of his car, it wouldn't feel as it used to earlier in the season because he had mentioned that he was going to go test, I think, for Formula One or go to another team.
Yes. He was going to do a phone run. I watched an exception to that.
And one of the pit engineers said, it wouldn't be far-fetched that, you could do a little something to kind of take off a little bit of that edge of the car. So that's what it brings back to mind. Like, you feel it may be something like that.
Dude, they did. Mercedes set up Rosberg to win that year.
Yes.
Right? Because if you remember, every time, Rosberg was running something wrong with Lewis' car. Every time, what I'm saying? So that's what Lewis was going to out them for, that the shenanigans that they did, right? So, again, the shenanigans are coming again because why? If Lewis was staying, then Russell will be the number 2 guy. It will be because they'll be still trying. Well, even Lewis even gave insight from last year with the last car when he said, I told him it wouldn't work. And it took them the whole year for them to realize the guy knew what he's talking about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they were so lost in the data. I say this. The data is important. Yes, it might be 80% of the job, but still you have that last. It's just like, in technology term, they talk about the last mile where the delivery goes. Mm-hmm. That's the driver. Yeah. The driver is going to take that data and he's going to write in that data and say, hey, this data makes me feel like I can do this. This makes me feel that I can't do this. So in order for them to get a full one, they can't be all data driven. This new, I think the new culture is right now. People are idiots, man. It's like you got to do the whole picture, right? You got to do the whole picture. You can't be just stuck in one. So when a driver, and you have to identify that you have a driver that is of the ability to do so. You have a 4, 5, 7-time world champion saying, yo, your data is wrong. Dude, get up off your butt and fix it and listen to what he says because you already sat out a whole stupid year and wasted all that money on something to turn around. Oh, I think we were wrong. Dude, you know what I'm saying? You got the guy does the last mile and I can see if it's a young driver, sure. Right? A 7-time world champion, come on, man. What type of crap is that?
Definitely lit a fuse there.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so I'm going to tap out. I'm going to tap out right now because I get in trouble. I'm done.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Again, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date on all things the fellas. We'll be coming to you in 3 weeks.
Wow, I can't believe it's that long. Jeez.
That long. When the Formula One circus heads up to Austin, to COTA. Until then, take care. We'll see you next time.
Latest.
Yep. See you.